Alright, Infernal Blessings. We are back with another video. Before I begin, a couple quick announcements. First and foremost, the Journey of the Black Adept Conference. I'm going to start pumping that. 8th Annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference. Should be the 3rd or the 4th week in October 2025. I should soon have an exact date, but I always tell people to gauge it 3rd or 4th week in October. An exact date should be coming within the next couple of weeks for sure. All right, so mark your calendars down for that. Hopefully we see some new people in addition to our regulars that come out. So mark your calendar down for that. Believe it or not, that's how quick the year's flying by. I felt like we just had the conference. That's a whole nother story. If you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, I offer various different types of readings. Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, telepathic demonic readings, shadow work readings, which is always a great place. If you're looking for what's going on currently in your life, a sense of purpose, a sense of direction of what you should be working on, because as I've said many times before, ritual work should be designed first and foremost for your needs before your wants. When you're taking care of the needs, the wants automatically follow. Or maybe you're just interested in a spiritual consultation, which most people just use as a one-on-one session. They come with a bunch of questions written down. Maybe you want to focus on something specific. Maybe you got a specific area of interest you're dealing with, or you want to just learn more about the occult or the left-hand path. Any of the aforementioned, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. Please include the days and times you're available on a weekly basis. Very important. Please don't email me. I'm available Tuesday at 5 o'clock. That's not what I mean when I say send me your availability. I know you hear me, guys. You hear me repeat this over and over. The reason why I repeat it over and over, because no matter how many times I say it, I still get an email, hey, Baniti, I'd like to do a reading Tuesday at 5 o'clock. It just doesn't work like that. I wish my schedule and life's schedule was that simple where I can just accommodate anybody's time right on the spot. I can't. So send me availability, what you're available on a weekly basis for the most part, and the time zone you're in. We'll find something that works for both of us, all right? Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos social media pages on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 9, all one word. Facebook, 2 words, Primordial Chaos. On Instagram, primordialchaos.com. 3, that's TikTok. Those are the best ways to keep up to par with what I'm doing here on Primordial Chaos with the Patreon page, events, classes, the conference. Just subscribe to those platforms and support them, and you'll be up to date of everything that's going on. If you want to sign up for classes, real simple how you take my classes. I have a variety of classes I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years, with constant classes being added regularly, new content. There's enough of content on my Patreon page to keep you busy for years. That's not even an exaggeration, with ritual work, books, resources, just an ongoing barrage of classes, literally. I say that with confidence, not arrogance. Nobody's offering what I'm offering for the price I'm offering it. Check out the Patreon page and sign up for classes, Tier 3. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. That's Tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. That's going to give you access to all the classes. Even from the day you join, you get everything in the archive going 5 years back. Plus, you'll be current. You'll have access to the 3 private classes I do every month, including the group ritual we do together at the end of the month on the Patreon page. That's patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3, that's the tier you want to join. Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos podcast page, available on Spotify, all major podcast platforms, Radio Public, just Google it, it'll come up. So the direct link to the podcast, my contact email address, the direct links for the social media pages, and the direct link for the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. All of those links are in the description box of this video you're watching right now. So, believe it or not, a video I just shot last night, I got some emails this morning, if I can kind of do a follow-up connecting video to it about hell, since we did something on heaven. And again, shout out to the Sufi brother that reached out. Hopefully he saw the video. So I'm gonna do a part 2 to this from a couple emails that I received, and that's why the video will be titled Does hell and the devil really exist? Question mark. So let's answer that question right out the gate. Not the way you probably were taught and thought he existed. Especially does not exist from the mentality of monotheistic followers and monotheistic religions. So of course a religious person is going to go into their so-called holy book, the Bible or the Quran, and they're going to find quotes in reference to the devil, Shaitan, Lucifer, who they all wrongly classify as the same archetype, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother video. And we'll show you these quotes and passages where it says the devil is this, the devil's a deceiver. They have all these different passages they will point out to you. Yes, the devil only exists in the minds of monotheistic believers from the hearts and minds of the men who translated those books. When you really do the research on the archetype of who the devil is and what the word devil means, what the word Lucifer means, you come up with different understandings. Those are titles. Those are attributes. Okay? The devil is translated from the word in English, really, the word means itself, the adversary, right? So when you even go into the religious books and you see the word devil, whether it's in the Hebrew or any of the Semitic languages, you'll be able to translate it from the Semitic language, the word that means the adversary, right? When you see the word Lucifer, it's the same thing. Lucifer comes from the Greek light bearer, right? One who bears light. You're talking about two different attributes of an archetype of who they claim are both one and the same, called aka Satan and the devil, right? You got to understand, religion is built on the premises of good and bad, right and wrong, God and devil. And it's built on the premise that it's a ABC 1, 2, 3 programming mentality. It's God, the angels, and men. It's this concept that's taught to you in 1, 2, 3s and ABCs, and there's a structure and a rule, and it's done for a certain reason to keep you mentally programmed and conditioned. And then there's the concept of there's God in heaven, which is above, and there's the devil and hell, which is below. The Baphomet cleared that up, or was clearing that up. When you see the Baphomets and the coaguli on the inner wrist, which is to evolve to a higher state of learning, the Baphomet represents everything, clarifying the delusional aspect of heaven and hell. The above and the below, as within, so without. Heaven and hell resides and exists within each human being. You create your state of heaven and hell in your existence, regardless of where that is, say your existence or your manifestation here on earth. Going to the wrong place at the wrong time can turn into your personal hell. Making a poor decisions, the repercussions of the karma from that, you can create your personal hell. You can create your personal heaven. When if you are a multimillionaire, have all the money in the world, all the luxuries, all the things that's physically described in heaven that I talked about in the last video, gold and virgins and harems and all these silk and honey, and you can have that if you are a certain financial status. So in a sense, that's your heaven. So what I'm essentially telling you, heaven and hell is a state of mind. Just like when you looked at the word heaven, as it's translated, comes from the Greek word haven, a place of hiding or enclosure. The word hell, they get it from the word Hades, which means beneath, below. They use the Greek term to elude you, to physically trick you and indoctrinate you. So the goal is to get you to look outside there, somewhere not within yourself, or way down there somewhere far away from yourself. That's done purposely, okay? And then they come up with this very, very mythological, scary story that they'll tell you bullshit like you got free will, right? Religion will tell you you have free will, but it's not free. Because yes, you can exercise your will freely, but there's repercussions according to biblical laws. So yeah, you can do whatever you want, but if you don't do what you're told, there's punishment. You're going to go to this place and burn in this lake of fire, eternally in hell, and you're going to burn in flames. Yes, they can find that in their Bible. Yes, they will take you to quotes talking about the eternal lake of fire. But again, as if you study and research the Bible, like I explained in the previous video, you will see it's a conglomeration of text that predated, infused with a lot of man-made bullshit that they threw in there and mixed with the truth. So you got to know how to read and study the Bible and decipher between the literal and allegorical parts of what they call scripture. See, there's a lot of hypocrisy with religious folks because they'll pick and choose what's literal, and then when you point out shit like unicorns mentioned in the book of Job, they'll find some way to dance around it, because if you believe everything is literal, then you believe in unicorns. You believe in satyrs, half man, half animals, also mentioned in the book of Job. So you got to understand, you're reading a book infused with mythology and facts and truth. And that's why true masters are able to decipher, he or she, between the literal and allegorical parts of the scriptures. People don't want to hear that. Say, oh no, that's not true. Oh no, you're not making it up. I'm not making it up. It's fact. Because we can debate it book by book, verse by verse. Most people don't even know the chronological order of the books of the Bible. They don't even know what was going on, the year it was revealed, what was going on with the so-called people at that time. Why certain things say what they say. They think they do, but when you start getting down to the nitty-gritty, understanding that aspect of the Bible and religion is going to strip away the bullshit and the illusions. So just like they fabricated a place of hiding enclosure called heaven, they also did that with this underworld called Hades, which really is the inner depths of your subconscious mind. These are realms that exist in your subjective consciousness. Just like we've learned in alchemy and different spiritual practices about the demiurge, right? There's different perspectives on exactly what the demiurge is. Is it this place where these archons and monsters that eat and devour you? Yes, that exists, but it's in the inner depths of your subconscious mind. You understand this further when you vibrate and you're able to transcend three-dimensional existence and understanding of person, place, and thing. You'll never understand it if your thought process is trapped within person, place, or thing. That's why we do ritual work. And in our ritual work, we are able to transcend three-dimensional existence and understanding. Okay? It's all mental. It never negates the foundation of the Hermetic principles, the first one. All is mental, mental is all, the universe is mental. These things do exist on the mental plane. They know this because when you go into the realm of the occult and you go into the realm of dealing with spiritual knowledge and spiritual wisdom beyond person, place, or thing, this is where they try to take those higher occult sciences and simplify them and dumb them down and make them literal. And this is how they were able to utilize and create this tool that's been a tool of mass indoctrination to control people for thousands of years now, still going on today, called religion. So now they literally created this place in the hearts and minds of people called heaven and hell. They gave it its whole concept. They painted the imagery and the pictures in artwork over the years, the Sistine Chapel and a lot of these churches in the West throughout Europe, and a lot of literature and books that have come out over the last several hundred years as Christianity rose in prominence here in the Western Hemisphere. And now they've stamped them almost this movie-like picture and image in your mind of this religious, horrific place called hell. And they've taken the archetype of what the adversary is, which just represents the higher self, a nonconformist aspect of the divine, and they've turned it into some type of monster. No different than what they did to Set, the deity Set in ancient Egypt. They demonized him and made him some type of devil character in religious mythology, because they too twisted the teachings of who the deity Set was and who he represented, which, not a coincidence, obviously is another mask, of the adversary. So this is all important to understand. This is all important to understand the mythology of where it comes from, how the men, the translators and authors of these books, how they were able to create these illusions and stories and keep people confused. So yes, you're wasting your time if you try to have a debate with a religious person, i.e. a Muslim, Christian, or Jew, over who and what the devil is and hell. Because the Muslim will say, yes, Jahannam, hell, it exists. It exists, yes. In the Quran, it exists by the author, in the hearts and minds of the authors who wrote and translated those books from the ancient texts, yes. Same thing in the Bible. But I guarantee you, real simple, and they never want to do this because they have to cling on to their holy book because they use that programming that they've been instilled with so deeply that this is the infallible word of God, and there's so many contradictions, and they'll dance around and they'll jump around and they'll pick and choose what's literal and what's allegorical. But as soon as you say, put the Bible or the Quran down and prove to me heaven, hell, God, and the devil exist without using the Bible or the Quran, they couldn't do it. They could not do it. And that's why it's very important for them to keep validating themselves through this book that they cling on to. Because without that book, they can't do it. They might try to come up with some spooky ass bullshit, and I've seen some of them try to do it, and it's just comical. But the reality is they can't do it. And that's why that book is so important, and it's such a critical part of their religion, and it's a critical part of their dogma, and it's a critical part of why they will never ever take off the blinders and remove the tunnel vision that they suffer from. Okay? So these are just the simple reality of these things that they refuse to face. So yes, the devil and what we call hell exists, but not in the way you think it does. When one goes into Hades or hell, they're going into the deep recess of their subconscious mind, the void, the abyss, the underworld. They're transcending past a three-dimensional understanding and existence, because all of these realms exist, whatever we call or refer to them, in different levels of understanding and learning, whether we call them good or bad, right or wrong, evil, whatever it may be. These are all planes or realms of existence that one must be able to travel and master in order for them to personify into the god or the goddess that they were truly birthed into this existence to be. Right? One has to be able to navigate through all of those realms. But if you're traveling on the occult, the left-hand path, you've seen and experienced some intense shit, because they act like these realms don't exist. So they sweep it under the rug, and then they just come up with this simple concept of heaven and hell, God and the devil. When you really look at it in essence from an esoterical perspective, the biblical God, or the concept of their God, represents the lower or the weaker self, and the adversarial and the nonconformist represents the divine or the higher self in each individual. If you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, in the very name Yahweh, you're saying Rach and Tov, agreeable and disagreeable. So in the very title, one of the titles they give to their biblical God, they are confessing that this biblical God, just like you, as a living, breathing, talking human being, have a positive or agreeable side of your nature and a negative or a disagreeable side of your nature. One can't exist without the other, no different than the teachings of the yin and the yang. Right? That's basically what they're showing you in the Bible, that God represents those positive and negative forces. And I'll do you one even better, and I'll leave you with this. To show you that that's a fact, their very Bible confirms it. And this is one of my favorite quotes to throw at religious folks, and I love how they dance around it, and I love how they interpret it to try to dodge a bullet. All you got to do is go into the book of Isaiah, chapter 45. You can start with the beginning of the chapter, but I believe it starts at verse 5 to like verse 7 or 8. And everything I just told you confirms it in those couple of verses. It says, I am the Lord your God. I create the light, I create the darkness. I create good, and I create evil. I, the Lord God, do all these things. So any religious person, I've seen them try to interpret this. No, it's clear as day what that means. It's very simple. This is the biblical God taking responsibility for good and bad, right and wrong, evil and negativeness, and agreeable and positiveness. Okay? So the very biblical God is taking accountability for everything in creation. And then when you turn around and you ask religious folks, well, isn't God responsible for all the death and destruction in the world? According to your religious theology, isn't he responsible for creating the devil? So all wickedness and evil that happens needs to be forwarded to the Lord thy God in Isaiah chapter 45. People don't want to address that. They ignore that. They dance around it. They try to say, no, it doesn't say, no, it's clear as day what it says. can't ignore that fact. And it proves and confirms everything that I've been saying since the beginning of this video. So no, the devil in hell doesn't exist the way it was taught to you in religion. Absolutely not. But from an esoterical occult perspective, it's the highest form of the higher self. It's tapping in to the adversarial current that resides within you. By nature, you are a god. You are not a conformist. You were not put here to follow and do as you're told, etc. So I don't want anybody, maybe somebody new that stumbles across this video, because I know when you hear left-hand path, the occult, Lucifer, Satan, the devil, you automatically think, oh, Church of Satan and devil worshippers. That's not what real left-hand path and occult is. That's a very small fragment of those who claim the title of left-hand path and occult. You could say the same for Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. There's a bunch of whack job sects of Christianity, snake handlers, people who just do what you would call daredevil things to prove that they have the power. I mean, crazy shit. So it comes in all forms. So hopefully that clarifies. I mean, I could speak more on this, but again, it's not what these videos are for. I try to keep them to 15, 20 minutes. So hopefully this tutorial follow-up, this gives even more clarity and kind of piggybacks off that first video. Hopefully it helped. I'm going to leave it at that. Again, if you need to reach out to me for a spiritual reading or a consultation, my contact email address, the direct link to the social media pages, the direct link to the podcast, and the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. All of those links are in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Infernal blessings. We'll talk soon.